Hi, my name is Arman Shah, president of KITE, and welcome back to the free KITE Python course. And in this video, we're going to go over dictionaries. So a dictionary is a type of data value, and it is sort of like a list, but unlike a list, it has different indices. So we're going to take a look at this dictionary over here. We call it ENG to SP, which is short for English to Spanish. So the goal of this dictionary is to translate English to Spanish. So we differentiate a dictionary from a list by using these curly brackets, as you can see. And our dictionary, like lists, has items. And each item, however, has two values. So as you can see, this is one item, and then we separate with a comma. Then we have a second item, and then a third item. And each item has a key, which is the first one, and a value. So the key is kind of the label, and the value is what it sounds like. It's the value of the key. If we were to print this dictionary, as you can see, we'll get the whole dictionary. 1 equals uno, 2 is dos, 3 is tres. So of course that is just 1, 2, 3 in English and Spanish, where we're assigning the key 1, which is English, to the Spanish translation, which would be the value. So if we wanted to call or print maybe an index, instead of using an index like we did in a list, which is the numbers 0 to infinity, we would use the key to call an index. So over here, as you can see, if I wanted to call the index 2, which is the number 2, I would specifically say the key value, which is 2, and we would print the value of the dictionary, which is dos. So over here, I've recreated that program over here, and again, we're assigning that each key to its value, which is its Spanish translation. Let's say I wanted to call or print. Think of it as a kind of like a database in general. This is a database. So if I wanted to acquire or get the translation of a number, we could simply just say print, and then I'll say English to Spanish, and then the index. So again, it doesn't work like ordinary indexes. The index we'll print would be the key. So let's say I wanted to print 3. It's not going to print 3. It's going to print the translation to 3, which would be the value that 3 has in this dictionary. So that would be tres. So we're going to rewind a little bit, and we're actually going to say English equals, and we're going to use the dictionary function, which is DSCT, and then the parentheses, open parameters. So what this creates is, let's print English to Spanish. Let's see what happens. So we print it, we get an open dictionary. So this is an open dictionary with nothing inside of it. But now we can actually add items. So like lists, dictionaries are also mutable. So we could directly add items. So I could say English to Spanish, and I'm going to create my own index, which could be 1, and I'm going to set that equal to uno. Now let's print English to Spanish. Now instead of that open dictionary, open parentheses, I'm going to get the whole dictionary, which is 1 equals uno. Now we could add on to this. We could say, I'm going to duplicate this real quick, but this time I'm going to say English to Spanish 2 equals dos. Run that, and now we're gonna add to our database. And instead of using the dictionary function, we can also use just open swirly parentheses like this. Swirly brackets like this, and the same thing. Happens. So an important thing to understand, and we're going to continue using this English to Spanish dictionary reference, is that an operator will only recognize having a key in a dictionary. So when you open up a dictionary, Python kind of only recognizes having that key, so that first value. That first value, which I like to think of as the face value, it is the value that Python sees. So that's the only thing that Python's going to be able to see, which is the 1, the 2, the 3. It's not going to be able to see the underlying value under each key. So in each item, it's going to see the key only and not the value of the key. So for example, if we made booleans and we said we prompted if there is a 1 in English to Spanish, that's going to come back as true, obviously, because there's a key value 1. However, if we asked for uno in English to Spanish, there is no key value uno. There's only 1, 2, and 3. Even though uno is a value of 1, Python doesn't recognize it, so it won't work in Booleans. However, we could combat this issue by using the values method. So if we assign vowels, the variable vowels, to a list, which we're going to create a list of all of the English to Spanish values, like we did over here. So what we did over here is we created a list of the English to Spanish values using the .values function, which just gets the values of each key in the dictionary. And then we're going to prompt for uno and vowels. That will come back as true, as again we're using the values and there is uno in values. So let's say we wanted to get a count of the number of letters that appear in Brontosaurus. So for example, O appears 2 times, U appears 2 times, B appears 1 time. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a dictionary to quantify and to log each data type that each letter appears. So we're going to log each letter that appears in the word using a dictionary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dictionary. I'm going to say D equals dictionary. I'm going to say for W in word, if W not in D, we're going to say D W, the index W, which is the key, equals, or we could say equals 1. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the word, the first letter of the word for the for loop. It's going to see if B is in dictionary. Is B not in dictionary? No, it's not. So then it's going to say that D of B is equal to the count 1. But now, what if the word, or the letter, appears twice? For example, O appears 2 times. So the first time it goes to O, it's going to put D of O equals 1. But now we want it to equal 2. Why? Because we want the value to increase if it appears twice. So because W, or in this case O, which is the value of, which would be the value, the variable at the time, does appear for the second time. For second times, we're gonna have to say else, meaning if it does appear, we're gonna say D W plus equals 1. At the end, we're going to print D. So we're running it, and we'll get how many times the letter appears in Brontosaurus. So what this did is it went through each letter, try to pretty much append a value of 1 to each respective letter, and if the letter did appear twice, we had the else statement that would add an extra value to the key. So a very important fundamental thing to understand in dictionaries is the get method. This is one of the many dictionary methods, and this is just one we're going to go over right now in the beginning. So what the get method does is it takes a key and a default value as an argument. And what happens is that when we use a get method, it's going to we use it as we put a key in and a default value in, as I said, and it will return the key value. But if there is no key value, it will return the default value. So what that means is, let's say we have a dictionary that counts names. So Chuck appears 1 time, Annie appears 42 times, Jan 100 times. Let's say we want to get a name and we use Jan, for example. So we say .get Jan, and we'll put a default value 0, just in case there is no Jan. So what it's going to do is it's going to search the dictionary for Jan. There is a Jan. So because there's a Jan, it will return a 100, which is the value of Jan. But let's say we want to now get Tim. So we use the get method for Tim, and we put a default value 0. The Python program will search the count dictionary for Tim. However, there is no Tim. There's only Chuck, Annie, and Jan. Because there is no Tim, the get method will create a Tim and put a default value of 0 in Tim in the counts dictionary. So that's why it's important having this default value. In case there isn't a key, it will return the default value. However, if there is a key, like there was in this case, it will return 100. So now the challenge or the question is now to rewrite that previous Brontosaurus count program using the get function. So if you didn't understand how to do it or rewrite the Brontosaurus program using the get function, it's actually very simple. It's way easier than before. So again, we're going to define our variables, which is the dictionary and the word, and we're going to use a for loop. And in this case, we only need one line of the for loop because the get function does exactly what we need when we're doing counts. So what we're going to say is we're going to assign D and the dictionary of the index of the loop at the time of the iteration variable to get that variable and make the default value 0 if there isn't. And then we're going to add 1 to the value. So the default value will be 1. But if there is that value that happens again, it will add 1 to that value either way. So either way, if it was the first time seeing that value come across in the iteration variable, that value will be now 1, and it'll add that value again if it comes up again. And at the end of the day, when we run it, the same program will come back and we'll get the number of letters in Brontosaurus. So thank you for joining us in today's KITE lecture. If you have any questions, concerns, make sure to visit our KITE Discord, which is linked below, where you'll have an open forums to ask our tutors any questions. Also, make sure to follow our new KITE Instagram page and even Facebook page as well.